Daniel Wright stood in front of the observation window and watched the planet below. His hands were tight fists at his sides. The planet looked peaceful from up here. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds. It looked almost like Earth, but Daniel knew better than to trust appearances. "You're doing it again," Lisa said from behind him. Daniel turned to face his wife. She wore her blue xenobiology uniform and carried a data pad under her arm. Her brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked calm. She always looked calm before a mission. "Doing what?" Daniel asked. "Worrying," Lisa said. She walked over and stood beside him. "I can see it in your shoulders. You get all tense like this." Daniel tried to relax but couldn't. "Can you blame me? We're about to make first contact with an alien species that uses giant creatures as companions, creatures that have killed people before." "Not people," Lisa corrected. "Representatives from the species, and that was because they tried to dominate the through force. They warned them not to." "Still sounds dangerous," Daniel said. The door to the observation deck opened. Commander Gregory Hayes walked in with Dr. Helen. The commander was a tall man with gray hair and a serious face. He had captained the colony ship Aurora for 15 years. Doctor was shorter, with kind eyes and dark skin. She had been Lisa's mentor since Lisa joined the science division. "Lisa, Daniel," Commander Hayes said with a nod. "Good, you're both here. I wanted to brief you before we go down to the surface." Lisa straightened up. "I'm ready, sir." Commander Hayes pulled up a holographic display from his wrist device. An image of a massive creature appeared in the air between them. It looked somewhat like a horse from Earth, but much larger. Its body was covered in what looked like scales instead of fur. The scales shimmered with different colors. The creature had multiple eyes along the sides of its head. Long, crystalline horns grew from its skull. "This is a," Commander Hayes said. "The people have lived alongside these creatures for thousands of years. They form bonds with them. They say the bond is telepathic, mental connection between rider and." "How big are they?" Daniel asked. "About 12 feet tall at the shoulder," Doctor said. "They weigh nearly 2 tons. Their horns are made of a crystalline material that's harder than diamond. They use these horns for their most advanced technology." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. "And Lisa is supposed to get close to one of these things." "Not just get close," Commander Hayes said. "She's supposed to participate in a bonding ceremony. It's a gesture of goodwill. They specifically requested it." Lisa looked at the hologram with interest, not fear. "What happens during the ceremony?" Doctor answered, "You stand in the bonding grounds. They are released from their enclosures. They approach potential riders on their own. If it chooses you, it will bow its head. If it rejects you, it will turn away. That's the best outcome for rejection." "And the worst outcome?" Daniel asked, though he already knew. "The attacks," Commander Hayes said quietly. "It happened to 2 of the representatives. The creatures charged them with their horns. Both died instantly." Daniel's protective instincts flared up. "Absolutely not. We can't risk Lisa's life for a diplomatic gesture." "Daniel," Lisa said softly. "No," Daniel said firmly. He looked at Commander Hayes. "Sir, with respect, there has to be another way. Send me instead. I'm security chief. I'm trained for dangerous situations." Commander Hayes shook his head. "They were specific. They want our xenobiology expert. They want someone who studies and respects alien life. Lisa is the most qualified person we have." "The most qualified person to get killed," Daniel said. Lisa put her hand on Daniel's arm. "I knew this was part of the mission when I signed up. They have been studying our transmissions for months. They know who I am. They requested me by name." "Why is this ceremony so important?" Daniel asked. "Can't we just skip it and move to trade negotiations?" Doctor shook her head. "The culture revolves around they see the bonding ceremony as a test of character. Species that refuse the ceremony are considered unworthy of alliance. Species that fail the ceremony violently are seen as incompatible with values." "What about species that succeed?" Lisa asked. "Only 3 species in history have had members successfully bond with," Commander Hayes said. "All 3 became the closest allies. They received advanced technology, protected trade routes, and military support." "And humanity needs those things," Lisa said. "Our colony ships are running low on resources. We need allies in this part of the galaxy." Daniel looked at his wife. He saw the determination in her eyes. This was the woman who had insisted on joining the colony mission even though it meant leaving Earth forever. The woman who spent hours studying alien ecosystems just to understand them better. The woman who believed that connection was always better than conflict. "I don't like this," Daniel said. "I know," Lisa said. "But you trained me yourself, remember? All those self-defense lessons, all that combat training you insisted on." "That was for human threats," Daniel said. "Not for 12-foot alien horses with diamond horns." "The principle is the same," Lisa said. "Stay calm, read body language, don't show fear. You taught me that fear makes predators attack." "Aren't predators," Doctor said. "They're herbivores, but they are highly intelligent and very protective of their chosen riders. The Sei can sense intentions. They know if someone approaches with respect or with the desire to dominate." Commander Hayes closed the holographic display. "The shuttle leaves in 2 hours. Lisa, you'll need to change into neutral clothing. Prefer natural fabrics for the ceremony. No synthetic materials or technology." "Understood, sir," Lisa said. "Daniel, you can accompany us to the surface," Commander Hayes said. "But you'll have to stay behind the barrier during the actual ceremony. No weapons, no interference." Daniel wanted to argue more. He wanted to find a way to protect his wife from this danger. But he knew Lisa well enough to know she had already made up her mind. When Lisa believed in something, nothing could change her course. "Fine," Daniel said, "but I'm staying as close as the rules allow." Lisa smiled at him. "I wouldn't expect anything less." They left the observation deck together. Daniel's mind was already racing through scenarios. What if the charged Lisa? What if the barrier wasn't strong enough? What if something went wrong? He had spent 12 years in Earth's military before joining the colony mission. He had seen combat. He had lost friends. He knew how quickly peaceful situations could turn deadly. And now his wife was walking into a situation where death was a documented possibility. Lisa squeezed his hand as they walked through the corridor. "I'll be okay," she said. "You don't know that," Daniel said. "No," Lisa admitted, "but I believe it. There's a difference." Daniel looked at her. "What difference?" "Knowing requires proof," Lisa said. "Believing requires faith. I have faith that if I approach with respect and openness, the will sense that. The failed because they came with arrogance. They wanted to conquer the, not bond with them." "And you think just being nice will protect you from a 2-ton animal with horns?" Lisa stopped walking. She turned to face Daniel directly. "I think that understanding beats force every time. That's what I've learned from studying alien life. The species that survive aren't always the strongest. They're the ones that adapt, the ones that cooperate, the ones that build bridges instead of walls." Daniel pulled her into a hug. He held her tight, trying to memorize how this felt, just in case. "I love you," he said. "I love you too," Lisa said. "And I promise I'll come back from that ceremony, trust me." The shuttle descended through thick clouds. Daniel sat across from Lisa, watching her face. She looked out the window with curiosity instead of fear. Doctor sat beside Lisa, reviewing data on her tablet. Commander Hayes piloted the shuttle himself, navigating through the alien atmosphere with steady hands. "We're approaching the landing zone," Commander Hayes announced. The clouds parted. Below them stretched a landscape unlike anything Daniel had seen before. The forests glowed with soft blue light. Crystalline structures grew between the trees like natural towers. Rivers of silver water wound through valleys. In the distance, massive buildings rose from the ground, their architecture organic and flowing rather than rigid and angular. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered. The shuttle landed on a platform made of smooth white stone. As the engines powered down, Daniel saw their welcoming committee. A group of stood waiting at the edge of the platform. They were humanoid but clearly alien. They stood 7 feet tall with slender builds. Their skin had a faint golden shimmer. Their eyes were large and completely black without visible pupils. They wore robes made of flowing fabric that seemed to change color in the light. The shuttle door opened. Commander Hayes stepped out first, followed by Doctor, then Lisa, then Daniel. The air smelled sweet like flowers and rain. One of them stepped forward. He was taller than the others with silver markings on his forehead. "Welcome to Prime," he said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador. We are honored by your presence." Commander Hayes bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. Thank you for inviting us to your world." Ambassador's gaze moved to Lisa. "You are Lisa, right, Yes, Ambassador," Lisa said. She didn't bow or look away from his black eyes. Daniel admired her confidence. "You have studied the information we sent about the?" asked. "I have," Lisa said. "I've read everything available about their biology, behavior, and role in society." "Reading is one thing," said. "Experiencing is another. Are you prepared for the bonding ceremony?" "I am," Lisa said without hesitation. Daniel stepped forward. "Ambassador, may I ask a question?" Turned to him. "You are the security chief, Daniel Wright, husband to Lisa Wright." "Yes, sir," Daniel said. "I want to understand the risks. What exactly causes it to attack during a bonding ceremony?" Was quiet for a moment. "Are empathic," he finally said. "They sense emotions and intentions. When someone approaches with desire to dominate, the reacts with aggression. When someone approaches with fear and weakness, the shows contempt. Only those who approach with respect and openness are considered worthy." "What happens if it doesn't choose Lisa?" Daniel asked. "If it just walks away?" "Then no bond is formed," said. "That is the most common outcome, are selective. Even among our own people, many never bond with her." "And if a does choose her?" His expression changed slightly. It might have been a smile. "Then your wife will have achieved something remarkable. No human has ever bonded with her before." They walked from the landing platform through gardens filled with strange plants. Some of the plants seemed to follow their movement, leaves turning to track them as they passed. The path led to a large circular arena surrounded by translucent barriers. "This is the bonding ground," said. Daniel looked through the barrier. The ground inside was covered in soft grass that glowed faintly blue. On the far side, he saw large enclosures built into the hillside. They were in there, waiting. "The ceremony will begin when the sun reaches its highest point," said. "That gives us 1 hour. Lisa Wright, you must change your clothing. We have prepared appropriate garments." A female approached with folded fabric in her arms. She handed it to Lisa with a small bow. Lisa took the clothes and followed the female to a nearby building. Daniel wanted to go with her, but Commander Hayes put a hand on his shoulder. "She'll be fine for now. Let's observe the arena and understand the layout." They walked around the perimeter of the bonding ground. Daniel studied every detail. The barrier was about 10 feet high and seemed to be made of energy rather than solid material. It shimmered slightly in the sunlight. "Can that barrier stop a charging?" Daniel asked. "Yes," said. "The barrier has never been breached. It is designed to protect observers while allowing the bond candidates to face the without interference." "How many will be released?" Doctor asked. 5, said. "Each one is unbonded and of bonding age. They range from young adults to mature specimens. The choice belongs to them, not to us." Daniel watched as workers prepared the arena. They placed markers at various points on the ground. They checked equipment. Everything moved with practiced efficiency. Lisa emerged from the building wearing simple white robes similar to what they wore. Her feet were bare. Her hair was still pulled back, but now she wore a silver band around her forehead. "How do I look?" she asked with a slight smile. "Like you're about to do something crazy," Daniel said. "That's the idea," Lisa said. She turned to, "I'm ready when you are." Gestured to the arena entrance. "Take your position in the center. When the sun reaches its peak, they will be released. Remember, show no fear, show no aggression, be yourself." Lisa walked toward the entrance. Daniel moved to follow but blocked his path gently. "Only the bond candidate may enter," said. "You must watch from here." Daniel's jaw tightened, "And if something goes wrong?" "Then the ceremony will end immediately," said. "The barriers will activate fully and the will be recalled." "After someone gets hurt," Daniel said. "Yes," admitted. "After, we cannot interfere during the choosing. That is the way it has always been." Lisa entered the arena and walked to the center. She stood on a circular platform marked in the grass. From where Daniel stood, she looked small and vulnerable. Commander Hayes and Doctor joined Daniel behind the barrier. More arrived and took positions around the arena. Some wore elaborate robes decorated with symbols. Others carried instruments that Daniel didn't recognize. "Those are the council members," said quietly. "They have come to witness this historic moment." The sun climbed higher in the sky. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to call out to Lisa to tell her to come back, but he knew she wouldn't listen. Raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. "Let the bonding ceremony begin," he announced in a voice that carried across the arena. The enclosures opened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Daniel heard them, heavy footsteps, deep breathing. They emerged from their enclosures one by one. The first was dark blue with purple highlights on its scales. Its horns curved backward like a ram's. It stepped into the arena and immediately looked at Lisa. The second was green and gold, smaller than the first but with longer horns. It moved with nervous energy, head swinging from side to side. The third and fourth came out together. They were both red, probably siblings. They stayed close to each other, watching the arena with cautious eyes. The fifth was the largest. Its scales were silver, gleaming in the sunlight. Its horns were the longest Daniel had seen, at least 6 feet from base to tip. This moved with confidence, with power. All five spread out in the arena. They snorted and stamped the ground. They eyed each other warily, establishing space between themselves. Lisa stood perfectly still in the center. Daniel could see her breathing, slow and steady. She showed no fear, even though 5 massive creatures surrounded her. The blue approached first. It walked toward Lisa with measured steps. When it got within 10 feet, it stopped. It lowered its head and sniffed the air. Then it turned away and walked to the far side of the arena. The green and gold didn't approach at all. It seemed more interested in the grass than in Lisa. The two red moved together, circling Lisa at a distance. They watched her for several minutes but never came closer than 20 feet. Then the silver started moving. It walked directly toward Lisa. Unlike the others, it didn't stop. It kept coming faster and faster. Daniel's muscles tensed. "It's charging," he said. Didn't respond. His black eyes were fixed on the arena. The silver lowered its massive horns. Its hooves pounded the ground. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. Lisa didn't move. She stood on her platform watching the creature approach. Her hands were at her sides. Her face was calm. "Do something," Daniel shouted at. "We cannot," said quietly. There was 30 feet away, 20 feet, 10 feet. Daniel grabbed the barrier, ready to jump over it despite the consequences. There was 5 feet away when it stopped. The massive creature stood directly in front of Lisa, breathing hard. Its multiple eyes focused on her. Time seemed to stop. Lisa's hand remained extended toward the silver. The creature's breath was hot on her palm. Its multiple eyes studied her face, her posture, her very being. Daniel couldn't breathe. His hand gripped the barrier so hard his knuckles turned white. One wrong move from Lisa and this would end in tragedy. The silver took one step closer. Its massive head was now directly above Lisa's hand. The crystalline horns caught the sunlight and threw rainbow patterns across the arena floor. Then slowly, the lowered its head. Its forehead touched Lisa's palm. A gasp ran through the watching. Daniel heard whisper something in his own language. It sounded like a prayer. Light began to pulse where Lisa's hand met the scales. Soft at first, just a gentle glow. Then brighter, stronger, until waves of silver energy rippled between them. The light traveled down this body and up Lisa's arm. Lisa's eyes widened. Her mouth opened slightly. She wasn't in pain, Daniel realized. She was amazed. The other 4 in the arena moved back, giving space to the silver one. They lowered their heads in what looked like respect. The light pulsed one final time, bright enough to make Daniel squint. Then it faded. The connection between Lisa and the remained, but the visible energy disappeared. Lisa moved her hand from this forehead to the side of its massive neck. The creature closed its eyes and leaned into her touch. Its tail swished back and forth slowly. "Impossible," breathed beside Daniel. "What just happened?" Commander Hayes asked. "A bond," said. "A complete bond in seconds. This should not be possible." Doctor pulled out her scanner and pointed it at Lisa and "I'm reading unusual neural activity from both of them. Their brain patterns are synchronizing." In the arena, Lisa walked around the silver, running her hand along its side. The creature followed her movement with its eyes, completely calm now. When Lisa stopped, the lowered itself to the ground, folding its legs beneath its body. Lisa looked back at the barrier where Daniel stood. She smiled. That smile said everything. She was okay. She was more than okay. She was connected to this creature in a way Daniel couldn't fully understand. "May I enter now?" Daniel called to. Shook his head. "Not yet. The ceremony must complete properly." He raised his voice and spoke in the language. The workers opened the arena gates wider. Lisa placed her hand on the shoulder. The creature stood up smoothly, as if they had practiced this movement 1,000 times. Lisa gripped the scales near its neck and pulled herself onto its back. The stood to its full height with Lisa riding it. Daniel had never seen his wife look so small and so powerful at the same time. She sat straight-backed, hands resting lightly on the neck. She wasn't holding on tightly. She didn't need to. The silver began to walk, not toward the exit but around the arena in a slow circle. With each step, their movements became more synchronized. When the left front leg moved, Lisa shifted her weight naturally. When it turned, she turned with it. "They move as one," Doctor said quietly. After completing the circle, they walked toward the exit. The other moved aside, creating a path. When Lisa and her bonded companion reached the barrier, the energy field parted to let them through. Stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Has chosen," he said. "The bond is complete." Lisa asked. Her voice sounded slightly different, more confident, more certain. "That is his name," said. "He was bonded before 5 years ago. His rider was my sister. She died from illness 2 years past. Since then has refused all attempts at." He mourned her deeply. Lisa's expression softened. She looked down at the beneath her. "I felt it," she said. "When we touched, I felt his grief, his loss. It was like a weight in my chest." "And yet he chose you," said. "Despite his pain, he opened himself to a new bond. This is extraordinary." Daniel finally moved toward his wife. He approached carefully, aware that might see him as a threat, but the simply watched him with intelligent eyes. "Lisa," Daniel said, "are you all right?" "I'm better than all right," Lisa said. "Daniel, I can feel what he feels, not just emotions. I can sense his thoughts, not in words but in impressions, images, understanding." "What is he feeling now?" Daniel asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment, her eyes distant. "Curiosity. About you. He knows you're important to me, so you're important to him. He can sense your fear, but also your love." Daniel reached out slowly toward. The leaned forward and sniffed his hand, then bumped its nose against Daniel's palm gently. "He accepts you," Lisa said with a smile. More approached, all of them staring at Lisa and with wonder. They spoke among themselves in their language, translated some of it for the humans. "They are saying this is a sign," explained. "A sign that humanity is different from other species we have encountered." "Different how?" Commander Hayes asked. Gestured to Lisa and, "The bonding process typically takes months. I must observe a potential rider many times before deciding. They test the person's patience, their temperament, their intentions. Even then, most bonds are partial connections. Full telepathic bonds like this are rare even among our own people." "But Lisa bonded completely in seconds," Doctor said. "Yes," said, "and with," who had closed his heart to new bonds. "This suggests that your species possesses something unique, something that resonates with consciousness." An older in elaborate robes approached. She had white markings across her golden skin and carried a staff made of twisted crystal. "This is Council," Elder said. "She leads our governing body." Elder studied Lisa with penetrating black eyes. "Descend, young human," she said. "Let me see you properly." Lisa slid down from its back. The remained close beside her, its body angled protectively. Elder walked around Lisa slowly. "You felt his grief," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Lisa said. "And you responded with compassion, not pity," said. "Yes." "You did not try to replace what he lost. You offered something new." Lisa nodded. "His previous rider was special to him, irreplaceable. I didn't want to be her. I just wanted to be here now, present with him." His expression changed. She looked at the other council members who had gathered nearby. They exchanged nods. "The test is passed," announced. Daniel felt confusion ripple through the human delegation. "Test?" Commander Hayes asked. Stepped forward. "Perhaps we should speak privately about this matter." "No," said firmly. "They have earned honesty through courage." Lisa Wright walked into an arena with creatures that have killed before. She did so with an open heart. "We will not repay such bravery with secrets." She turned to face all the humans. "The bonding ceremony is more than a cultural tradition. It is a test of character. We have learned through long history that how a species treats creatures unlike themselves reveals their true nature." "You've tested other species like this?" Doctor asked. "Yes," said. "They came to us seeking alliance 20 years ago. We offered them the same ceremony. They saw thee as beasts to be dominated. They approached with arrogance and force. The responded appropriately. They killed the representatives, Daniel said. The defended themselves, corrected. The attacked first when they would not submit, with the any alliance after that. What about species who simply don't bond? Commander Hayes asked. What about those who are rejected peacefully? That has happened 3 times, said. Those species were not granted full alliance, but we did not refuse them completely. We engaged in limited trade and maintained diplomatic distance. But we bonded, Lisa said slowly, understanding dawning. Completely bonded. Yes, Elder said, in a way we have never seen from an outsider. This changes everything. She raised her staff and struck the ground 3 times. The sound rang out across the gathering. Let it be known, announced in a voice that carried authority. Humanity has passed the trial of souls. Lisa Wright, bonded to, has proven that your species possesses true compassion, not the desire to dominate, not weak submission, but genuine connection. The gathered began to make a sound. It started low, almost like humming, then grew into something between a song and a chant. Daniel didn't understand the words, but he felt the emotion behind them. This was celebration. Lifted his head and made a sound Daniel had never heard before. It was musical, resonant, beautiful. The other in the arena answered with their own calls. Lisa looked overwhelmed. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she was smiling, lowered his head and gently nuzzled against her shoulder. What happens now? Lisa asked Elder. The old smiled. It was the first real smile Daniel had seen from any of them. Now, young human, we welcome your people not as strangers or potential threats, but as friends. True friends, bonded through more than treaties and trade agreements. She turned to Commander Hayes. In 3 days, we will hold a formal alliance ceremony. Your ship and crew are invited to stay as honored guests. We have much to discuss, much to share. We accept with gratitude, Commander Hayes said. Daniel watched his wife standing beside the massive silver. She had done it. She had walked into danger and emerged not just unharmed, but transformed. She had changed the future of human relations with one act of courage and compassion. Later, as they walked back toward the landing platform, followed Lisa like a shadow. They wouldn't leave her side. I think you made a permanent friend, Daniel said. Lisa reached up and touched his neck. We're bonded for life, that's what explained. Once it chooses, the choice is forever. How do you feel about that? Lisa looked at the massive creature beside her, then at Daniel. I feel like I understand something important. We humans, we evolved to connect with others. Not just with other humans, but with dogs, horses, even cats who barely tolerate us. We form bonds across species naturally. It's what we do. Night fell on Prime with 2 moons rising in the purple sky. The human delegation had been given quarters in a beautiful building overlooking the crystalline forests. Daniel stood on the balcony, watching the bioluminescent plants glow brighter in the darkness. Behind him, through the open door, he could hear Lisa talking softly too. They had their own spaces in the building, larger rooms with high ceilings and open walls that led to a private garden. Had refused to leave Lisa's side, so he stayed in the adjacent chamber where he could see her. A knock came at the door. Daniel walked inside to answer it. Commander Hayes stood in the corridor with Ambassador. May we come in? Hayes asked. Of course, sir, Daniel said, stepping aside. Lisa emerged from the sleeping chamber. She had changed into comfortable clothes provided by her hair was loose around her shoulders. Ambassador, she said, is something wrong? Nothing wrong, said, but there are things we must discuss, things we have not yet told you about the ceremony and its significance. They all sat in the main room, moved to the doorway connecting the chambers, watching everyone with his multiple eyes. Folded his hands in his lap. Commander Hayes, you asked earlier what happens to species who are rejected peacefully by I told you we maintain distant diplomatic relations with them. This is true, but incomplete. What's the complete truth? Hayes asked. We do not trust species who fail the trial of souls, said simply. We engage in basic trade, we communicate when necessary, but we never share our advanced technology. We never offer military alliance. We never truly open our worlds to them. Why not? Doctor asked. Because they have never been wrong, said. In 3,000 years of history, every species that failed to bond with later proved to have dangerous tendencies. The who approached with arrogance later attacked a peaceful colony world. The who were rejected completely now run a slave trade empire. The who achieved partial bonds but nothing more tried to steal our technology through espionage. Daniel leaned forward. So this test wasn't just cultural, it was practical. Yes, said. The sense what we cannot always see. They know when someone views others as tools or threats. They know when compassion is real or performed. They are, in essence, living truth detectors. Lisa looked thoughtful, and I passed a test I didn't know I was taking. You knew, said gently. Perhaps not consciously, but you understood the stakes. I watched you in the arena. You studied body language before he reached you. You noticed the signs of grief, the tension in his movements, the way he held himself separate from the other. I did notice those things, Lisa admitted. My training has taught me to observe behavior patterns. But that is not why you succeeded, said. Other species have sent skilled observers. They noted the same patterns, but they tried to use that information to manipulate the. You used it to understand, to meet him where he was emotionally. That is the difference. Commander Hayes looked troubled. Ambassador, I appreciate your honesty, but I have to ask something difficult. You put Lisa in danger without telling her the full truth. What if she had failed? What if had attacked her? Then we would have known humanity was not ready for true alliance, said. And yes, Lisa might have died. This is why the test is meaningful. We ask you to risk what you value most to prove your character. That seems cruel, Daniel said. It seems necessary, countered. We have been betrayed before, Daniel Wright, species who smiled and spoke of peace while planning conquest. That saved us from making fatal alliances. The risk to one person is terrible, yes, but the risk to billions if we choose wrong allies is worse. Elder appeared in the doorway. No one had heard her approach. You are angry, she said, looking at Daniel. You feel we endangered your mate without her full knowledge. Yes, Daniel said, not bothering to hide it. Entered the room and sat with them. You have every right to that anger. We did endanger her, deliberately. But consider this, Daniel Wright. We also trusted her. We believed, based on our observations of humanity, that your people possessed the capacity for genuine bond. We were not certain, but we had hope. Hope isn't enough to risk someone's life, Daniel said. No, agreed. But necessity sometimes requires risks. Would you have preferred we reject humanity outright without giving you a chance to prove yourselves? Daniel was silent. He wanted to say yes, wanted to say that Lisa's safety mattered more than any alliance. But he knew the colony ships needed allies. He knew humanity was vulnerable in this part of space. Lisa reached over and took Daniel's hand. I chose to enter that arena, she said quietly. I knew there was danger. I made the choice to trust my training, my instincts, and yes, my faith in connection over fear. You didn't know it was a test of humanity's character, Daniel said. Does that matter? Lisa asked. I showed my character either way, isn't that what counts? Elder nodded approvingly. Wise words from one so young. You understand something important, Lisa Wright. The test was not about performing correctly. It was about being genuine. If you had known the full stakes, you might have acted differently. You might have been too careful, too calculated. Or too afraid, Lisa said. Yes, said. Fear changes behavior. We needed to see you as you truly are. Shifted in his seat. There is more you should know. The full bonding that occurred between you, and it has never happened with an outsider before. Even among such complete telepathic connection is rare. It takes years to develop if it develops at all. Why did it happen with me? Lisa asked. We do not fully understand, admitted. But we have theories. Human brains developed alongside pack animals. You evolved to read emotions in wolves and dogs. You learned to bond with horses and other creatures. This neural pathway for cross-species empathy seems stronger in humans than in most species. Doctor pulled out her data pad and began taking notes. That would make evolutionary sense. Humans domesticated more species than any other Earth animal. We formed working relationships with dogs, horses, cattle, even cats. Our survival often depended on understanding non-human minds. Exactly, said. Most species in the galaxy evolved as solitary hunters or as hive minds. They understand dominance or collective consciousness, but not partnership between different species. Humans understand partnership instinctively. Is that why the failed? Commander Hayes asked. They couldn't conceive of partnering with the see other beings as either equals to compete with or inferiors to control, explained. They are clearly powerful, so they tried to prove dominance. They could not understand the concept of mutual respect between unequal beings. Lisa looked at who still watched from the doorway. "But humans have pets," she said. "We care for beings we know are not our equals. We protect them, love them, grieve for them. We see the relationship as valuable even though we're clearly the more intelligent species." "And that," said, "is humanity's gift. You see value in the relationship itself, not just in what the other being can provide. Did not choose you because you were strong or clever. He chose you because you valued him as an individual, not as a tool or a test subject." Daniel thought about all the times Lisa had talked about her research subjects with affection. She never called them specimens or data points. She learned their individual behaviors, gave them names, mourned when they died. He had thought it was just her personality. Now he realized it might be a fundamental human trait. "What happens next?" Daniel asked. "Now that we've passed your test?" Elder smiled. "Now we stop testing and start trusting. In 3 days, we will hold the formal alliance ceremony. We will offer humanity access to our technology, our trade routes, our knowledge. We will offer military protection if you need it, and we will ask for your friendship in return." "Just friendship?" Commander Hayes asked carefully. "Just friendship," confirmed. "We will not demand tribute or submission. We will not require you to follow our customs or laws beyond basic respect. We simply want to know that humanity can be trusted as allies and partners." Added, "We will also ask that other humans attempt bonding with, not as tests but as opportunities. They are curious about your species now, has shared his experience with the other. They want to understand these strange beings who can connect so deeply." "More people like Lisa?" Daniel asked. "If they wish to try, yes," said. "But no pressure, no requirements. The bonding must be voluntary on both sides." Lisa leaned back in her chair, processing everything. "You said shared his experience. How?" "Have limited telepathy with each other," explained. "They cannot speak in words, but they share emotions and impressions. Showed the other what he felt when you touched him. The recognition, the acceptance, the compassion. It fascinated them." Made a low rumbling sound from the doorway. Lisa's eyes became distant for a moment. "He's remembering," she said softly, "showing me what he shared with the others. He felt so alone after his previous writer died. He didn't think he could connect again. Then I approached him, and he sensed that I wasn't trying to replace what he lost. I was just trying to understand who he is now." Tears filled Lisa's eyes. He showed the other that grief doesn't have to be permanent, that opening yourself to new bonds doesn't dishonor the old ones. Daniel watched his wife connect with an alien creature on a level he could barely comprehend. He had been so afraid for her, so certain that the ceremony would end in tragedy. Instead, it had revealed something beautiful about humanity, about Lisa, about the possibility of real connection across the vast differences between species. Elder stood slowly. "We will leave you to rest now. Tomorrow we will show you more of our world. We want you to understand what you are allying with, what we offer, and what we ask." After the left, Daniel and Lisa sat together in silence. Eventually settled down in his chamber, though his eyes remained open, watching over Lisa even as he rested. "I'm sorry I doubted you," Daniel said finally. "You didn't doubt me," Lisa said. "You were afraid for me, that's different. I should have trusted your judgment." 3 days passed in a blur of wonder. They showed the human delegation their cities, their technology, their way of life. Daniel walked through buildings that grew from living crystal, watched children play with young in gardens that responded to emotion, and learned about a civilization that had achieved peace through understanding rather than conquest. But today was the alliance ceremony. Daniel stood in his formal uniform, adjusting his collar for the 3rd time. Beside him, Lisa wore robes that they had specially designed for her. They were white like the bonding ceremony clothes, but decorated with silver thread that matched scales. "You look beautiful," Daniel said. Lisa smiled nervously. "I look like I'm getting married to a giant alien horse." "Well, you did bond for life," Daniel teased. Made a huffing sound that might have been laughter. The massive stood just outside their quarters, already groomed and decorated for the ceremony. Silver bands wrapped around his horns, and his scales had been polished until they gleamed. Commander Hayes appeared at the door with Doctor. "It's time," he said. "The Grand Council chamber is ready." They walked through the corridors of the Capitol building. Everywhere Daniel looked, he saw and their bonded preparing for the ceremony. This wasn't just a political event. It was a celebration. The Grand Council chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched high above them, made of transparent crystal that showed the sky. Hundreds of filled the tiered seating that surrounded a central platform. Every council member was present, wearing their most formal robes. But what caught Daniel's attention were the dozens of them lined the walls of the chamber, their scales gleaming in every color imaginable. Blue, green, red, gold, purple, and more. Some had riders on their backs. Others stood alone, watching with intelligent eyes. "I've never seen so many in one place," Lisa whispered. "This is unprecedented," said, appearing beside them. "They came of their own choice. They wanted to witness this moment." Elder stood on the central platform. She raised her staff for silence. The chamber fell quiet immediately. "We gather today to formalize an alliance," began. Her voice carried through the chamber without need for amplification. "Not an alliance of necessity or convenience, but an alliance of trust. Humanity has proven through the trial of souls that they possess the capacity for true connection. Lisa Wright, please come forward." Lisa walked toward the platform, followed close behind her, his hooves clicking on the crystal floor. They climbed the steps together and stood before Elder. "You entered our bonding grounds 3 days ago as a stranger," said. "You faced our with courage and compassion, who had closed his heart to new bonds, chose you. He saw in you what we hope to find in humanity, the ability to connect without desire to dominate, the wisdom to understand without need to control." Turn to address the entire chamber. "They are our partners, our friends, our family. How a species treats them reveals their deepest nature. Humanity has shown us their nature. They see value in relationships that cross species boundaries. They protect those they bond with. They grieve for those they lose. They open their hearts even to those who are different from them." She turned back to Lisa. "You represent your species well, Lisa Wright. Through you, we understand what humanity can become in this galaxy. Not conquerors, not servants, but partners, friends, family." Produced a small crystalline object from her robes. It looked like a star with 7 points, glowing with internal light. "This is the Star of Alliance," said. "It has been given only 3 times in our history to the 3 species who successfully bonded with. It represents our commitment to mutual protection, shared knowledge, and eternal friendship." She placed the star in Lisa's hands. The crystal felt warm, almost alive. "On behalf of the people and the who choose us, I offer humanity the Star of Alliance. Do you accept?" Lisa looked at the star, then at Commander Hayes, who nodded. She turned back to, "On behalf of humanity, I accept this great honor. We promise to be worthy partners, to respect the bonds we form, and to protect the friendships we build." The chamber erupted in sound. They made their humming chant. They called out in their musical voices. Even Daniel found himself cheering alongside Dr. and Commander Hayes. Raised her staff again. "There is more. We offer not just alliance, but gifts. Technology to improve your ships. Knowledge to help your colonies thrive. Access to trade routes that will connect you with peaceful species across this sector of space. And most importantly, we offer our help in training more humans to bond with if they wish." Commander Hayes stepped forward. "The colony ship Aurora and all of humanity thank you for these generous gifts. We offer our friendship in return, our knowledge shared freely, and our promise to honor the values that this alliance represents." "Then let it be recorded," said. "From this day forward, humanity and the people are allies. We will defend each other in times of danger. We will support each other in times of need. We will learn from each other in times of peace." The ceremony continued with formal speeches and presentations. Other council members came forward to greet Lisa and the human delegation. Some brought gifts. Others simply wanted to meet the human who bonded with. But the most moving moment came when they approached. One by one, bonded walked up to Lisa and each one touched their horns together within what explained was a greeting of respect. They were acknowledging choice, accepting Lisa into their community. The last to approach was an ancient creature. Its scales faded to pale silver with age. It moved slowly but with dignity. Its rider was equally old, a woman with white markings covering most of her skin. "This is Grand Elder," said quietly. "She is the oldest living, her is the oldest living. They have been bonded for 80 years. Slid down from his back with surprising grace. She approached Lisa and studied her with eyes that had seen decades of history. "You remind me of myself when I was young," said. Her voice was soft but clear. I too bonded quickly with my. Everyone said it was impossible, but knew better. He chose me the moment we met. What made him choose you? Lisa asked. Smiled. I asked him that once through our bond. He showed me a memory. I had been helping a young who was injured. I spent hours with that young one, talking to it, comforting it, even though it could not understand my words. Saw that and knew I was someone who cared for others without expecting reward. She placed her hand on Lisa's shoulder. You have been given a great gift, young human. The bond with it is not always easy. You will feel their pain as they feel yours. You will know their fears and they will know yours. But you will never be truly alone again. Will be with you for the rest of his life. How long do live? Lisa asked. Is 120 years old, said. He may live another 50 years or more. You're as young, only 15. You will have a long journey together. Lisa looked at with new understanding. She had known the bond was permanent, but she hadn't fully considered what that meant. Decades of partnership. A lifetime of connection with this magnificent creature. Lowered his head and pressed his forehead against Lisa's chest. Through the bond, Daniel knew Lisa was feeling something powerful. The promise of a future together, the certainty of companionship, the knowledge that neither would face their struggles alone. After the ceremony ended, a celebration began in the gardens outside, and humans mingled freely now, no longer separated by uncertainty and caution. Music played from instruments Daniel didn't recognize. Food was shared from both cultures. Daniel found Lisa sitting on a bench with resting beside her. This massive head was in her lap, and she stroked his scales absently. How are you feeling? Daniel asked, sitting beside her. Overwhelmed, Lisa admitted. 3 days ago I was on a colony ship. Now I'm the symbol of human alliance. I'm bonded to an alien creature for life. Everything changed so fast. Regrets? No, Lisa said immediately. Not even a little bit. This is the most important thing I'll ever do, and we're proof that different species can truly connect. That means something. Daniel looked around at the celebration. He saw Commander Hayes talking with Elder, both of them laughing at something. He saw Doctor examining a piece of technology with fascination. He saw children cautiously approaching human crew members with questions. The story is already spreading, Daniel said. Told me that other species in this sector have heard about what happened, about how a human bonded within seconds. They're curious about us now. Curious in a good way? Lisa asked. Mostly, Daniel said. Some species are skeptical. They think it was luck or a trick. But the species who are already allied with they're interested in meeting us. They want to understand this ability we have to connect with others. Lisa was quiet for a moment. What do you think they'll find when they meet us? I think they'll find what they found, Daniel said. That humans are really good at making friends, even with people who are completely different from us, even with giant alien horses. Lisa laughed. Giant alien horses with telepathic powers and diamond horns. Those two. Lifted his head and made a contented sound. Through the bond, Lisa sensed his amusement at being called a horse. He says horses are much smaller and less intelligent, Lisa translated with a smile. Tell him I apologize, Daniel said seriously. Lisa's eyes went distant for a moment as she communicated with. He accepts your apology. He also says you're a good mate for me because you worry enough for both of us. He's not wrong, Daniel admitted. As the twin moons rose higher in the sky, the celebration continued. But Daniel and Lisa sat quietly together, watching the future unfold. A future where humanity had powerful allies. A future where bonds crossed species barriers. A future where Lisa Wright and a silver named were proof that compassion could change everything. You know what the best part of all this is? Lisa said. What? When you thought was going to kill me in the arena, you were ready to jump that barrier. You were going to fight a 2-ton alien creature with your bare hands to protect me. Of course I was, Daniel said. You're my wife. And now that same creature is part of our family, Lisa said. He'll protect me just as fiercely as you would. Maybe more so since he's telepathically bonded to me. I have 2 dedicated protectors now. Lucky you, Daniel said, but he was smiling. Made a rumbling sound that was definitely laughter this time. A young approached them hesitantly. Excuse me, she said. I am unbonded. I was wondering if you would tell me about the bonding moment, what it felt like. Lisa gestured for to sit. It felt like coming home, she said. Like meeting someone who understood you completely without needing to explain. The bond opened up a connection I didn't know was possible. I could feel some motions, his thoughts, his essence, and he could feel mine. "Were you afraid?" asked. "At first," Lisa admitted. "But then I realized that fear was the wrong response. Needed understanding, not fear, so I chose to trust instead." And he responded to that trust with his own. Others began to gather, listening to Lisa speak. She told them about the bonding ceremony from her perspective. She shared what she felt, what she learned, what she understood now about the connection between species. Daniel watched his wife become a teacher, a bridge, a living example of everything humanity could offer the galaxy. She hadn't set out to change human history. She had just been herself, curious, compassionate, brave enough to extend her hand to something unknown. And that, Daniel realized, was the most human thing of all. Later that night, as they returned to their quarters, Lisa looked back at the celebration still continuing in the gardens. "Do you think other humans will be able to bond like I did?" she asked. "I don't know," Daniel said honestly. "Maybe not exactly like you. You're special, Lisa. You always have been." "Not that special," Lisa said. "I just did what felt right. Any human with empathy and openness could do the same." "Maybe," Daniel said. "But you showed them how. You went first. You took the risk. That makes you special whether you like it or not." Settled into his chamber with a contented sigh. Through the bond, Lisa felt his satisfaction, his peace, his joy at being chosen again. "I think," Lisa said softly, "that this is just the beginning. Not just for me but for all of humanity. We're going to show the galaxy what we're really good at." "And what's that?" Daniel asked. Lisa smiled. "Making friends, building bridges, connecting with others even when it seems impossible. That's our gift. That's what makes us human." She was right, Daniel knew. The story of Lisa and would spread across the galaxy. Other species would hear about the human who bonded with a grieving in seconds. They would wonder what made humanity special. They would want to meet these strange beings who valued connection over conquest. And when they met humanity, they would find a species that had evolved alongside wolves and horses, that had learned to read emotions in eyes different from their own, that had built civilizations on cooperation and partnership. They would find a species that looked at alien creatures with diamond horns and saw not threats or tools, but potential friends. That was humanity's true strength, not their weapons or their technology or their physical abilities, their capacity for genuine connection, their willingness to extend their hands and their hearts to beings unlike themselves. The alien horse hadn't killed Daniel's wife. Instead, that magnificent creature had chosen her, bonded with her, and through that choice, changed the course of human history. And all Lisa had done was approach with love instead of fear, with understanding instead of dominance, with an open heart instead of a closed fist. In the end, that made all the difference. Lisa smiled and squeezed his hand. "You did trust me. You let me go into that arena even though every instinct told you to stop me. That took courage, too." "And the noticed," Daniel said. "They tested for it," Lisa corrected, "and we passed." Its crystalline horns were inches from her chest. Lisa raised her hand slowly. She held it out, palm open, toward this face. That didn't move, neither did Lisa. They stayed like that, frozen in time, while the entire arena held its breath. Daniel wanted to trust her, but trust was hard when the stakes were this high. All he could do was be there, watch carefully, and hope that his wife's faith and connection would be enough to keep her alive.